Hey guys, ZombFox here, and today we're going to be doing another in-depth review. This is the Week 9 matchup between the Stallions and the Gamblers, which I said I was going to do a video on this, and we're doing it. So the Stallions are going to end up losing this game. So they lose this game mainly because they don't play well pretty much the entire game, but the important parts is naturally the ending on how they end up, just finishing this game. So the way they end up finishing this game is pretty bad. So before we actually get into it, just a quick little thing. At the end of the day, J.R. Smith will end up with one touchdown, one interception. He'll end up with 260 yards on a 68.3 completion percentage, 28 out of 41. So keep that in mind in that stat line. Because, you'll see exactly why I say that. And then that's pretty much the only stat you need to understand for this moment. So now let's actually look at the first play. So the first play we're going to be looking at is naturally a second down conversion, where they end up getting the pass and they throw a check down, which is the correct read, and it is a first down. At this point, now they got to a 2nd and 1. So right now, the way you need to look at it is they still have 2 timeouts. And they really only need to get to about the 30-yard line to really have a shot at a game-winning field goal since they're only down by 2. So in theory, just continue to get first downs is a good thing. For those of you who don't know, the USL runs on the college rules. So once you get a first down, the clock stops no matter what, if it's middle of the field, out of bounds, or what, until you're pretty much ready to snap the ball again. So this, in theory, they don't really need to do anything insane. They just need to do a simple, quick read or smart decisions. So they end up snapping it, and then right off the bat, you can see right now that there is a check down at the bottom that you could easily throw to for a first down. If Jamar just pulls back and immediately throws it, the defender is too far back because he's about 4 yards back from him to really make a jump on it to do that much. He could, in theory, maybe hit it, but really it's not likely. So instead, Jamar decides to throw the ball downfield to Williams, and it gets interception. Now, the best part is the gambler is just able to keep on running, and he keeps running. That chews another about 4 or 5 seconds off. And with that, the gamblers now have the ball back. But I wouldn't be doing an in-depth review if that was it. Even though it was a pretty bad play overall, Jamar should have had the correct read and throwing down low rather than going for it all, which really didn't mean that much. But, hey, it's fine, right? Because they ended up getting the ball back, because the Gamblers' ineffectiveness and the Stallions' defense is basically what happened. So, as you can see here, we are at now a 1st and 10 with 6 seconds left. So, this is pretty much the end of the game. In theory, you have 2 choices. You can either say, for no reason at all, and just chuck a Hail Mary, or you can do a check down. So, what they end up deciding to do is do the check down route, which, for those who don't know, the check down route is you basically throw a check down and you pitch it back. And so after he catches it, he's getting tackled, and then he pitches the ball back out of nowhere, and then Jamar just falls on it. What? This is one of those moments where my head goes automatically to just WTF. So, and it's not anything against Bollinger. He made the correct play. If you're falling down in that situation, you have to pitch it. But Jamar just landed on the ball. I don't know what he thought, but you never do that in this situation. At the end of the day, if the Gamblers go and score a touchdown off a scoop and score, it doesn't matter. You're already going to lose the game. But if you pick it up, you can keep the play alive. It's a rarity, but it's happened. New Orleans did it a bunch of years ago, though they missed the extra point. The Miami Miracle for the Dolphins. It's a play that's happened before. But the fact that Jamar just decides to fall on it is something that really, it just feels weird. So, back to the stat line, as I said. He finished 28 for 41 with 68 completion percentage, 260 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That 1 pick was on that final drive. If he doesn't throw that interception, his stat line looks even better than it already does. Because this isn't a bad stat line. But that interception really hurts, especially since it was his fault. Yes, it was a great play for the Gamblers. I get that. Because, it's just Abernathy just made a totally correct decision on when to pounce the ball and get it. But at the end of the day, for Jamar, he messed this up. And now the Stallions are 8-1. And now this is the part where I'm going to talk about more of an in-depth review on the Stallions' last 3 weeks and just overview. Pretty much in the overview, Jamar's averaging about like a 54 completion percentage, which isn't really that good. Now, not only is he having like a 54 completion percentage across all the games, but he's a 3-1 touchdown to interception rating. That's not that good. And in terms of a QBR, his best QBR was this week at an 83.4. Against New Orleans, he had a 68.6. And against the Pittsburgh Maulers, the worst team in the league, he had a 39.9. That's not good. He's not doing as well as he was before. He's averaging less than 7 yards an attempt because he didn't have even 7 in a single game. So he's not being able to air it out or get those, yards after catch from his receivers. And then as for running the ball, Bo Scarborough did have a really solid game against Pittsburgh. He had a less solid, more solid because he had a higher average, against New Orleans. And then this week, he kind of didn't do anything. He went 11 attempts for 31 yards. And then, C.J. Maribel went, 9 for 26 yards. Not overall the best. But, it's just... And then I understand as well that the defense has been doing decent. They held the Maulers to 16, the Breakers to 9, and they held the Gamblers to 17. Overall, they held them to a pretty low score, if you think about it, all things considered. That's nothing to scoff at. They were able to hold those teams to a combined total of 42 points in 3 games. But it is the Maulers, one of the teams they played, and the Gamblers are another team. They played 2 of the teams that are considered the worst in the league for the whole year. And they barely were able to beat the Maulers in some regard, because they only won by 10, despite the fact the Maulers played 2 different quarterbacks, and that the Gamblers, they ended up losing. And the Breakers, they only won mainly because of a missed extra point by the Breakers. And then, especially another big thing is Brandon Aubrey has not been as good as he was at the beginning of the year. Yes, once again, against the Maulers, he was great. But against the Breakers, he went 1 for 3 on field goals. And then today, he did do solid again. But mainly in the middle of the season, he wasn't as automatic as he was before. So, it's something else. Overall, it's just the Stallions team, I'm genuinely worried about them heading into the playoffs. Now, I will say this. If they were having to play the Stars in the first round, I would 100% go with the Stars beating them. I'm not joking. I think the Stars would just be too much for them offensively to actually overcome. But they're going to play either the Breakers or the Bandits. And both those teams, just like the Stallions, are prone to playing games where they just play like total garbage. Because that's the one thing that's holding the Stallions back from... right now, genuinely... Now, naturally, it also depends on how the last 2 games are, because this is being recorded before the end of the week. This is being recorded before any of the games on Sunday. I genuinely might put the Stars ahead of the Stallions during my power rankings, depending on how well they play. Just because in the recency amount, the Stars have been excellent versus the Stallions, who have been borderline bad the last couple weeks. But I don't know if I'm going to make that decision that some people consider rash until I actually see how the Stars play. But just know that might happen. And I think we all know who number 1 is now, because it's not the Stallions anymore. They're definitely falling down. Overall, it would have been cool to see an undefeated team in the first year. It would have been funny and ironic that it was in the only team that actually had a home crowd advantage. But as we'll see, the team, at the end of the day now, the next game doesn't matter. They might end up resting some people. We might see Alex Magoo start. Might see Jamar start just so he can get, back in the groove. I don't know. But overall, this has been Zomfox. If you enjoy this content, want me to find us as soon as I upload any videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, have a great night.